This is what's wrong with women today. This is going to be a pretty in-depth look. It's going to be multifaceted. There's a lot of things that are wrong with women today. And we're going to try to cover all of them. I kind of just go off the riff here, so I could get off on some tangents, but I usually steer back. What's wrong with women today? Quite a bit. And I will have a solution at the end, a short solution. I don't want to be one of these people that just like sits behind a camera for 20 minutes and just complains. Not really complaint. Really, complaint is usually drips with emotion. There's emotion that comes with it, kind of like a helpless victim mentality. Emotion, that's a complaint. But if you're just saying things that are negative, but it's kind of just the state of the world, then I think you're just basically just stating the facts. You're stating the truth. It's not really complaining. But what's wrong with women today? Okay, let's start. Where do we start? Women to begin with, they were brought up in this feminist worldview, as were men, right? And so that shapes a lot of the way that they think, right? A lot of how they view men, view themselves. A lot are very entitled. They haven't learned good habits. They haven't learned to be virtuous. They are not virtuous people, right? They're very degenerate. But men are also very degenerate today. Men are not virtuous. And it kind of makes sense that these women are following the example led by men. Now, men are on the comeback, I think, for sure. There's a lot of men that are doing the right things nowadays. Women, I don't think they'll catch up. And usually women turn 30 and start to lose their looks, their kind of value fades, and they're in for a rude awakening, a very rude awakening. Life gets very rough for women as they age. After 30, life gets rough for them. Whereas men, life is rough in the beginning, gets a lot better as we age. But women, modern women, I would say young women, are not only not virtuous, which means they are oftentimes addicted to one or more of these things: masturbation or sex, whether that be looking at porn or not or whatever, just any form of masturbation. And it's always with these power tools. They got tools, man, battery powered, high pressurized tools. Not high pressurized, but you get, I mean, these things that they do, I mean, it's crazy. Nicotine, alcohol, eating bad, poor fitness, right? They don't work out. They are oftentimes addicted to social media because they can farm attention. Women are attention farmers today. They just want attention. They just want their ego validated, and they don't actually want to engage in base reality with men, because in base reality, men hold the power, and I'll get into that later. But yes, women are not virtuous because they indulge in all of these things. Most women are very much addicted to masturbation or sex. A lot of them have multiple partners. They don't understand that they don't value their chastity, their purity. They're not pure. They're not pure people. They're not making the right choices. They're not being sexually disciplined. They're not holding out for the right man. They're not conserving, all of them for a man. They are engaging in temporary pleasures and zonking out all the natural pleasure stimulators in their brain and killing this thing with their rabbits or their their vibrators or whatever they're using. They can go to town and get like 5 orgasms in 30 minutes, and of course, like, a man can't do that. And then it doesn't help that they're looking at porn. It doesn't help that they're getting constant like fake validation from all these men over Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and Bumble and TikTok and all these apps where they can just play with men, farm attention, present the best versions of themselves. All the best pictures at the right lighting, at the right angles. They can manage the interaction. It's not live, you know. They are usually addicted to either drinking or vaping. They don't have healthy life habits. They don't think the right way. They're often very career driven. They're often very, anti-men. They have this sort of idea that they need to compete with men. They have this sort of idea that, most men suck. They're often very entitled, They often want a complete man, but they're not nearly complete themselves. They're almost nothing themselves. It's these habits, right? It just comes from the way that they were raised. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to these women. How they got so off track. It's probably the poor example, the poor leadership that men have displayed. Because we're no example. Well, we're starting to be an example again. That's what we're striving towards. But men for the longest time were just no example. And so they basically have just been led astray. Women are a reflection of us. Women are a reflection of men. That's just the truth. If women are degenerate and not virtuous and entitled and just kind of awful to be around, we need look no further than ourselves, because we let that happen. Maybe not us, maybe not our generation, maybe not younger men, but men before us definitely did. They set the society as a whole, just set this. It was just a whole society of weak men that just became more and more, sort of less virtuous. They became more lustful. They had lower standards for women. Women can, women should be praised. We should, give them 50-50, give them equal power, give them all the power. Who cares? We're all the same. It's like, it's all this stuff. And it really just, it ruined them, because as men got weaker, women got weaker. As men got worse, women got worse. And, most older women, so younger women have their thing, which I'll get into. But most older women, I'm going to say between the ages of like 29, 30, and 45, let's say, they're not as addicted to social media. They're not as addicted to, the digital medium. They're not as addicted to interacting with men in that way. They're not, because they just didn't grow up with all that stuff, really. They were of a certain age before it really became popular. But the problem with these women, unfortunately, they were raised in a very feminist world. You know, their dad probably had as much power as their mom, if less. You know, he brought home the money, but other than that, she kind of just ran things. So they have this sort of example of what a man is. That's, you know, they don't really respect men. They kind of see men as their men should be my equal. You know, they were raised in a way that, you know, you could go do this, go do that. This is, and I'm not saying that this is like necessarily, women can think like this, right? They can think very masculine. They can think in a way where they want to compete with men. They can think very career driven. They can think that they want to shatter the patriarchy or whatever. They can get all mad at this stuff. That's fine. They can do that. I'm not saying that they can't do that. But what I am saying is that unfortunately, that doesn't get them the man that they want. It never does. And this is what a lot of these women are starting to realize, and they're getting resentful. They got led astray. Feminism betrayed them. It sold them the lie. You know, they thought that, like women think, some women out there, they think that like having a lot of money will attract, will be, what, will somehow attract the man of your dreams. Get out of here. What are you talking about? What are you on? It'll attract a guy who's very beta and wants mommy and wants you to provide for him and will do every little thing that you say and follow you around like your little helper boy. That's what you'll get. It's like women don't even, like, you had to see that this was coming. And now women are starting, as they age, all these women in their 30s, they're starting to realize, like, damn, like this ain't it, you know? This ain't it. And you know, women are in these like 50-50 marriages where it becomes more like 60-40, 70-30 in her favor. You know, because the man is like a weak. He's so addicted to lust. He just wants sex, and so she can use sex against him. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't have any masculine energy within him. He's not masculine in himself. He has no real purpose or drive or higher passions or virtues that he's aspiring to, that's his mission, right? He has no masculine energy within him, so he doesn't have the energy. She's the more powerful in the relationship. He's just kind of, you know, he's just kind of going through the motions, complacent, going to work, earning the paycheck, you know, driving the Tesla, but when he comes home, it's, you know, let's make mommy happy, equal thing of the kid, equal, you know, sort of share of the kids, you know. And he just, you know, he munches, you know, watching football, college football and NFL football, and, you know, takes care of the yard and does this errand and does that when she says it, and cleans out the garage when she says it, and does, you know, she makes the decisions for the kids, you know, what the kids are going to do. And he kind of just, you know, she'll consult him and like ostensibly consult him, you know, just for show. Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about it. But really, like, you know, he can't. He doesn't want to make her. He doesn't want to make her angry. He doesn't want to make her upset. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't make a woman upset. Oh my god. The world's crashing. I'll lose everything. They operate from a place of scarcity. They have a scarcity mindset, right? So they're just slaves in their own home. These are the men nowadays. And these women, these older women, are starting to realize this, and they're like, what? They're just so angry. They're so angry and bitter. Unfortunately, you were sold a lie, my girl. Unfortunate, but you were sold a lie. You went down a dark path, and you know, now you're facing, now that, you know, the music stopped. Now it's you're facing the consequences, and unfortunately, that's just the way that this goes. So that's older women. Not good. And they, now they've lost their looks. Now they're a little more wrinkly, a little more pudgy in places, if not a lot more pudgy. They've lost the spark in their face, in their eye. They've, popped out 3 kids or maybe 1 kid, but, they've just, life's kind of done a number on them. So they're not really highly desired in the dating marketplace now. Of like highly, you know, real strong, high value men are not, they're not even gonna, I mean, the eyes won't even touch them. When they're scanning, the eyes won't even rest on them. That's how bad it is. But then you got these younger women that are coming up nowadays, and they're not good either, but for different reasons. Both of these groups of women are not virtuous, right? They are usually into drugs or alcohol or all combination, maybe on meds, and they're addicted to masturbation or sex, or you know, they've had a few sexual partners, if not a lot. They don't value their chastity. They're not sexually disciplined. They're not pure, right? They're not practicing the right things. But these younger women are addicted to social media. And it's almost like they can't even interact with a real man in person, right? Because these women, they have grown up in a way where they're interfacing with men. Most of their interactions with men are behind a digital wall where they have ultimate control. And what I mean by ultimate control is they literally can control the entire interaction with you at a pace that they want. They can show what they want and not show anything that they don't want. The pace is their speed, and they can emotionally regulate themselves and make the wisest decisions, think about what they say. It's not live. It's not real time interaction. You know, behind a digital wall, a woman can make a profile that has all the best pics of her at all the right angles, showing her body in this way, showing her face in this way, in the right lighting, right? She can say all the cute things under her posts. She can take the time when she's interacting with you, because there's so many men in their inbox, right? She's just like, she has all these men she can interact with, because all these men are driven by lust, and they're all weak, and they're just thirsty, and they're just like, they see some nice tits and an ass and a face, and they're just like, ugh, just drones for it. And so she can just farm you for attention, and she can not respond when she wants. She can take 45 minutes to think of an answer, or an hour to think of an answer, or just not respond. If she ever feels upset, then you're not going to see that, right? It's behind the digital wall. You can't even see her. So you don't see her emotions in real time, right? So she doesn't really even have to emotionally regulate herself. She doesn't stand the risk of, showing an emotion, or having, or saying something that, gives you the power, basically, that makes her look less powerful, that gives her less control. In the real world, a woman has little to no control over the interaction, right? Men are a lot more just charismatic. We're a lot more confident. We're a lot more calm. We're a lot more balanced naturally. We can regulate our emotions better. In a real life situation where the woman is sitting across from you, she can't not answer tough questions. She has to answer questions, or if she doesn't want to answer them, she has to say why at least, or, change the subject, in which case you would see that and like evaluate her as probably that's a red flag, and she doesn't want that. she sees that that's a red flag, that she's not answering, or she's diverting, or she's, prevaricating or whatever. Or she just leaves, She can't, the equivalent of leaving a guy on red, of just not texting back, is the equivalent of leaving a room. You literally just get up and you leave. You're gone. Like, a woman can't do that in real life. You would just end the interaction immediately. The guy would probably think that you're weird. He wouldn't want to see you again. Like, you can't get away with that. So she has to interact. She has to show her body language. She has to show her emotions. She has to, she could have an emotional outburst. She could say something that she doesn't want to say. She could, you know, display some body language that she doesn't want to say. She could be drawn to you in a way that, she loses power. She loses control. And these women, because they have existed most of their lives behind this digital wall where they're believing a lie where all these men want them. And so they think that they're a highly desired woman. And so they don't really have to deal with rejection, or they don't really have to deal with the pain of getting better, right? They've never encountered like pain, like a man looking at them and saying, okay, you're not good enough. You need to be better in these areas. I'm not interested. Sorry. They're not getting that, right? They're just getting like fake sort of, yeah, you're great, you're cute. Oh my God, I love you. Let's meet or whatever. And then when it gets real, these women, when it gets real, they're not actually they haven't built up anything real themselves, because they actually haven't dealt with the pain, right? They're not engaging with their actual reality. They don't really even have a lot of experience with men in real life. And so they get very weird. They get very like, you know, um, just very cautious. They're just very like, unsure. They get scared easily. They don't want to give away power because they know that they just don't have it. They don't want to get invested in you, for you to see who they really are, for them to just like basically have nothing and just be super drawn to you, and they just like give themselves to you. And then you be like, yeah, actually no, like you don't have it at all. They're like, you're just kind of a pretty face and that's it. Like, you're not interesting, you're not submissive, you're not feminine, you're not nothing, you're kind of weird. You don't think the right things. Like, that's what these women are. They're terrified of that. They're terrified of of things getting real. They're not engaging in real reality enough to feel the consequences, right? And so these women are not getting better. It's the same with men who like look at porn all the time and are ejaculating. Their brain thinks that they're like killing it. They're getting the hottest women, doing all the craziest stuff to them, a ton of novelty and all these different types of women seeing naked. I mean, in real life, that just can't happen. I mean, that's so impossible to happen, but it's happening every night for these men. Their brain thinks that it's happening every night for these men. Can you imagine? Your brain thinks that you're just like killing it, that you're the top of the dating pool, the mating pool. You're just like, you know? And so they never get better because they're constantly in this pleasure-filled state where the brain and the body think, the balls are empty. The brain is saying, okay, we're getting all these women pregnant. We're super successful in procreation. There's no energy and there's no pain stimulation to force you to get better as a man. So that's why these men who are addicted to this stuff, there's no incentive. There's no pain signal. There's no signal incentive for the brain to make you better, for you to be better as an organism, because you're already the best. According to to what your balls are saying, to what your brain is feeling, you're already the best. You are the top. You're the top dog. So you don't need to get any better. In reality, it couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, it could not be further from the truth. You got a job at a pizza place, and you smoke weed all day, and you jerk off in your mother's basement, and you play video games, and you munch out, and you don't go to the gym, and, women don't even desire it. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, nothing could be further from the truth. You don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of status, you don't have a lot of power, you're not leveling up yourself, the same thing is going on for women. The same thing. If they're masturbating and looking at porn, or even just masturbating all the time, they're killing their pleasure centers. You know what I mean? It's a little different because, I'm not really sure how the mechanics of a woman's body, work, if it's saying that she's getting pregnant or not, because the egg and the ovulation cycle it's crazy. But women pay a heavy price for, interacting so heavily in the digital world where there's no real stakes, where they're fooling themselves with being more successful than they really are in the dating pool and the mating pool, right? And they're also quite heavily engaged in sex or masturbation. They're very sexually liberal. They are not virtuous. So they are numbing themselves. They're not getting better as women because their brains are saying the same thing. We're getting sex. We're successful. When your brain just feels good all the time, there's no reason for you to get better as a person. You're not engaging with the real signal of life. The fact that your life kind of sucks and could be better, a lot better. This goes with all forms of trying to feel good. Escapism. You're talking nicotine, alcohol, all sorts of prescription drugs, sex, masturbation, poor eating habits. When you use something as a crutch to just feel good all the time, there's no incentive to be better. And that's why that's what's wrong with women today, is they are just, it's the same thing that's wrong with men today, even though I think men are getting a lot better at this. They're not engaging with base reality where the stakes are real, unassisted from all their stuff. Their distractions and their pleasurable habits, temporary pleasures that come easy. They pay a heavy price. Quick, easy pleasures where there's no energy expenditure. You're not actually being productive. You're not putting real value into base reality to get that pleasure back. That's only gonna kill you in the long term. That's just gonna rot your organism in all facets. And that's what's wrong with women today. They're just not here. They're not engaging. That's more so younger women. But for older women to a lesser degree, but older women are kind of just over the hill and they're bitter, so they're dealing with their own stuff. They're kind of, life's kind of going bad for them due to a different sort of dynamic for different reasons. The way that we be better, men have to lead this. We have to show women we can get women back on track, but we have to be the example. We have to set the example, set a standard, set something that they can look up to. They need to look up to us. Men that they can look up to, follow our lead and get better themselves. We need to be the type of man where when she follows what we do, she gets way better as a woman. Sexually sexually abstinent, virtuous, not drinking alcohol, no nicotine, no smoking weed, no prescription drugs of any kind, eating healthy, working out, working on your fitness, choosing good choices, interacting soberly with your life every single day on a daily basis, being sober, engaging with the pain of your life every day, all your difficult emotions, your horniness, your anger, your sadness, your fear, your guilt, your shame, all that stuff. You have to engage with it every single day. That's how you get better. That's how we as men get better. And once we start doing it, women will follow our example. That's how women get better. All right, that's it. That's the video.